Welcome to my podcast, Real Estate Ripoffs. And this week's edition is really one of the biggest factors now in our industry that is going to redesign everything. The commission lawsuit and what a ripoff, not just the changes that are contemplated, but the whole lawsuit is an attack on the American dream and the way we do business. It's a bold statement, but I want to show you how this is going to hurt consumers and real estate agents and our general industry overall. I'm Bill Gross. I'm at Bill Gross Probate. I do this podcast every week. I'm a real estate broker in Los Angeles, California, with a national business helping probate attorneys and vendors and families across the country, and host a podcast also weekly, probateweekly.com. But this week we're going to talk about the commission lawsuit. Now, if you follow real estate at all, it's been a big factor. I had lunch yesterday or coffee yesterday with two customers, and the wife was an attorney who knew about this lawsuit. This is now becoming standard information. There's a lawsuit. It's against realtors. Realtors are bad. They're caught doing something wrong. Nobody really knows the details. They all know that realtors are bad and they're caught doing something. That's not true. That's the goal of the politics. And I want to show you that why and how it affects people and hurts us. So the first thing you need to know is in America now, everything is politics. Everything. And so we've made now our sports politics. You have to have separate national anthems, who kneel, who doesn't kneel, the flag, they don't respect the flag. Every single activity in America now is infested with the politics. And so here you have this commission lawsuit, and you have the homeowners who beat the National Association of Realtors. Now think about that. They beat the NAR. Not that they won a lawsuit, not that there's a settlement. They beat them. Why would you beat somebody? They must be bad, and these people are the heroes. And there's the glowing photo of the named plaintiffs in this case. Really despicable people when you break down what they are and what they're doing. I'm going to show you why. But the fact the New York Times has it as the lead in glowing terms, like everything's political. Why? The NAR is and was the largest lobbying group in America. Now, in general, I'm against lobbyists, but the NAR represents 1 million entrepreneurs like me who service our customers buying houses. The other lobbyists are Boeing and Lockheed and military industrial companies and huge tech giants are trying to stop what we can say. NAR was one of the few on the other side favoring Americans, favoring entrepreneurship, favoring the average consumer. But the New York Times is against that, just like they're for the other one. So these are their heroes, the people who beat the NAR. Okay, so let's go into the details. The first thing I want to tell you is the plaintiff, this nice looking woman, poor her, really, she doesn't even blame the real estate agent. She believes the agent was doing her job. If you read the article, I'm not going to go to New York Times and go behind their paywall for free. We have the same article in the Seattle Times, the exact same you'll notice from the New York Times. And so when you go through the article, what she tells you is that she doesn't blame the real estate agent, but she didn't know that she could negotiate the commission. This is in her words. She said that she felt the rules seemed fixed. She didn't blame the agent. She thought the agent was doing her job. And she knew the agent personally, and she knows that realtors are all controlled by a bunch of spiderwebs. But here's the key thing. She didn't know that the commissions were negotiable. Well, the NAR has made commissions negotiable. The real estate companies have made the commissions negotiable. The only person who told her wrongly they weren't negotiable is her friend, the real estate agent. But instead of suing the friend for malpractice or the friend for misleading her, she knows it's not the friend's fault. It's those bad people at NAR, the people who create the form that breaks down the commission where it's negotiable. She says in her story that the agent brought her the contract and it was pre-filled out, the commission rate at 6%. And she showed her a form that said you can do 6 or 7 or 8%, not offering her the ability to go down. And she says the portion that was given to the other agent, we call the co-op commission of 3%, was also in the contract pre-printed, and she didn't have the chance to negotiate that. Well, again, the form is created by NAR and the state association. Her friend is the person who pre-filled out the form and apparently wrongly told her that it wasn't negotiable. But instead of suing the friend, How much money is her friend going to get? Her friend's a part-time agent who full-time works with her in the same job. She ends up suing and winning hundreds of millions of dollars. That's what's going on here. The customer admits that it is negotiable, but her friend misled her, but she doesn't want to sue the friend. She wants to sue who? NAR, because they control a spider web of activity, according to this woman. Okay, that's the obvious. Then if you go a little deeper, when she took the stand, I'm sorry, I get my notes out of the way here. Again, she says that if she did know it was negotiable, there'd be no basis for the case. And so that's the whole point of this, is that it's not that commissions aren't negotiable, they are. It's not that NAR and the agencies don't have forms that make the customer sign, because there's a blank there with a number in it, sign the amount of the commission and the amount that goes to the buyer's agent. Those are the forms, even in Missouri. The fact is, in this case, that has nothing to do with NAR or the brokerage. It has everything to do with her friend, the agent. The whole thing, when you read her testimony, the whole thing from the beginning is a setup. A little more puffery from the article is the attorney. The attorney is described in the New York Times. Let me go back to that one. Is described in the New York Times as a plain-spoken personal injury attorney. Oh, he's just a nice, plain-spoken attorney. No, he's not. He's one of the leading attorneys in Kansas City. He's a major litigator. He's a force to be reckoned with, a smart guy. He's a lot of things, but plain-spoken, that's what the New York Times calls people who sound effective when talking to the normal people. So what they're really telling you is that this attorney was able to get stupid jurors and convince them of something that wasn't true, and as a result of that, reorganize an entire industry. Okay, so let's go a little further. The other part is that these, I think that you might think that real estate agents prey on stupid customers. Here's a case where both of these, the sellers, the name sellers, Burnett, are sophisticated. He says he shops sales, and he had worked for a waste management company after spending 20 years as a local legislator. So he was a politician. That's an interesting fact. And she also worked for a political organization, some sort of advocate in the education system, where her agent also worked. And so these are sophisticated people who read forms and read contracts, and we would normally say are responsible for what they sign. If we're not responsible for what we sign, why even have contracts? Basically, this lady is saying, I didn't really understand what I was signing. Please save me. And as a result, we're going to have the whole real estate industry completely wiped out, rather than saying, hey, lady, you read English. Did you read the form? Didn't it say this on there? Didn't you know that that's the purpose of a form, is you can make those choices? Now, one of the things that's interesting to note, I saw in Redfin recently, is that, where am I at here? Very few people understand how the agent gets paid. And Redfin did did a survey, and it said that 20%, nearly 20% of buyers have no idea what the agent gets paid. They don't really know. So I think the point of this is that, like when I bought a car, I don't know what the commission was for the salesperson. When I bought a cell phone, I don't know what the commission was. I know they get a commission. I don't really care. I bought the car, I bought the phone. I knew the price I was getting, but most people don't know. And I think most importantly, really don't care. One of the things that's, I think, not well known about the settlement is the settlement offers nothing to buyers. It's only for sellers. I saw this article from the U.S. In the Sun, and I got the actual documents, the actual legal notices. And when you look at the legal notices, here's a claim form. In order to collect, you can be eligible if you A, sold a home, not bought a home, and then 2, listed in multiple listing service. So if you didn't put in the multiple listing service and sold it, you don't get any of the payback because they're suing the MLS. But it's funny because the people in the MLS got a better price than those who are not in the MLS. 3, paid a real estate commission to an agent or broker in connection with the home. So what they're saying is if you sold a house and the MLS during these time periods, during these agencies, you're eligible. But remember, when the case came out, it was the buyers were being abused. Buyers don't know what the commissions are. Buyers don't see the commission being charged on their behalf. But meanwhile, the only people getting paid, in addition to the attorneys, who I guess are going to get 30 or 40% of the $1 billion settlement, is the sellers of the home. So it's interesting how it was buyers who are being taken advantage of, but somehow sellers are the ones that are getting paid. That's an interesting factoid in this process as well. Just to show you how meaningless the damage that clients have, last week, lenders led by Fannie Mae, which is a quasi-government agency, which sets the rules and underwriting for lenders. When you get a loan, the lender will lend money on the value of the property. They also allow a seller to make concessions to help the buyer buy the property and make it more affordable. So, for example, the seller can pay for closing costs, escrow fees, title fees, lender fees on behalf of the buyer. And that doesn't affect the loan amount. The lender will look at that and say, well, that's part of the normal part of the process. Therefore, we will finance that, and we will not consider that as like a kickback to the buyer where the loan amount should be reduced. And so there was a question about whether or not Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac would allow the concessions to include paying for the buyer's commissions. And of course, Fannie Mae came out last week saying that sellers can pay the buyer's portion of the real estate commissions. Why? Because that's a normal part of a transaction of selling something. If the commissions was some ripoff, some overcharging, some non-value part of the equation, for example, just paying a buyer money, giving a kickback, a bonus for buying a house, Fannie Mae would say, well, that's okay, but we're going to reduce the sales price by that amount when we calculate the loan, because it's not really part of the transaction. There were times where sellers would offer, say, a car or a horse to go along with a property, and the Fannie Mae Freddie Mac would reduce the value of that property. So that's not really part of the transaction. That's just, in essence, reducing the sales price of the property. But in this case, Fannie Mae is saying they will allow a seller to pay the buyer's agent's commissions and consider it part of the real estate transaction. Why? Because it's part of the normal real estate transaction. They're recognizing that this is what sellers should pay if they want to get top dollar in most circumstances. So here you basically have the federal government saying, we acknowledge the commissions make sense. So what's the core of this whole thing? Again, I'm going to go back to the very beginning. This is nothing more than an attack for money. Nothing wrong with attacking money. But when you do it dishonestly, and when you do it where it doesn't create value for anybody, in my mind, it should be shame-worthy. We should shame the attorney. We should shame the plaintiffs in this case. Because what they're doing is disrupting real estate agents around the country. It's not going to affect me. It's going to hurt a lot of the newer agents in the industry. They're going to help destroy real estate companies that pay taxes, that are local businesses. It's going to hurt sellers because now there's confusion. There'll be maybe less efficient selling practices. MLSs, their goal is to put them out of business so that all real estate sold by Zillow or Redfin, these are companies that are destructive to our economy, don't pay their fair share of taxes. So this is really an attack on the American way, on the American dream. I think most importantly, there's no real basis in fact for it. Now, did the attorney get a jury to agree with him? Of course. But apparently you can get juries to agree of all kinds of things. And NAR and MLSs are all weakened with the economy where sales are down 30%. And so what we have is a strategic decision by a businessman to attack a weak industry at a moment of weakness. Now they have insurance behind them and they have reserves to attack them to get paid. And we have the press making these people seem like heroes when in reality, they're just opportunists making a lifetime's worth of money on the backs of average Americans. So I'm going to declare that this commission lawsuit is nothing but another real estate ripoff. What do you think? What are your comments? Put your comments below. Like or dislike this. Subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. As always, I'm here to help you. I'm at LAProbate on social media, and make today your best day ever. Thanks so much.